in case, and we can also record. Awesome.
Hi, Sandra.
Gary?
I get to see you on Zoom. She's a
Yeah.
neighbor. And I put
Oh, awesome.
Pokemon Go. I don't know. Maybe should I not out you?
I'm fine.
Pokemon Go friend as well.
Welcome, welcome, folks who are coming in. I think, I'll wait like a minute, but you are more than welcome to use the chat function and kind of say hello. If you can also say it out loud to the group because we're all unmuted. But if you prefer, you can type something into the chat and just kind of let us know who you are and where you're coming from and what you do. I'll go into a little intro about what we're going to be doing, and then we'll jump right into a prompt.
Lou, can you see all the features that you need to see, like breakout rooms and screen share and all that kind of stuff?
I do, and I've been alerted that I am a co-host. So I think we're in good shape. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, Jess and I used to share a lot of space at the chamber where I was the communications and marketing manager for about 2 years, and recently went my own way to start my own thing here, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. But I just want to thank Jess for inviting me to be part of this and presenting today and putting myself out there in the, as you'll see, very early stages of my business, but really excited to bring you all in on that process. But yeah, please share with us in the chat if you like who you are and where you're coming from, what you do. We'll get into some small groups where you can go into that a little bit more in a bit. All right, well, I think I'll jump in. Jess, do you have anything to say before I go?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna say welcome to everyone. Hello, I'm Jess Thompson. I'm the Director of Investor and Community Relations here at the Chamber. We're so delighted to see all of your faces this afternoon. I was like morning, afternoon, I guess we just turned to afternoon. This event and all of our Link and Learn events, which are opportunities for business folks to gather, connect, and learn with and from one another. These events are sponsored by Florence Savings Bank, and I'm just going to kick it briefly over to Vince Jackson, our Executive Director, because I know he wants to say welcome to.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jess, and welcome to everyone. I am Vince Jackson, Executive Director of the Greater Northampton Chamber of Commerce. It's always great to have you join us for our educational programming. And let me also say thanks to Florence Bank for being the sponsor of this year's Link and Learn series. And I have to say that today it is my pleasure to welcome to this forum Lou Abbott, who I also shared a lot of space and time with Lou when we worked together. And I have to tell you that I am a much smarter digital marketer than when I started at the Chamber because of Lou's expertise and the energy and enthusiasm that they brought to the work of the Chamber. And I know you're in for a treat. So without any further delay, I'm going to bring up Lou. But first I have to tell you a story about how I knew Lou was all about content. When I joined the Chamber, it was our centennial year. We were celebrating 100 years of being in existence. And I had the bright idea. I says, well, before we close out the year, let's have 100 days of celebration, 100 days of content on our social media channels. And the staff must have thought I had lost my mind, but Lou put it out there and rose to the occasion and showed just how engaging little tidbits can be on social media. So thank you, Lou, for making that reality happen. And I think those in the audience today will have a chance to understand the impact that their businesses can have from your kind of expertise. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Vince. That's so kind, and bringing back all kinds of wonderful memories of my time at the Chamber. So thank you for that very warm introduction. I'm going to share my screen and go into a little bit of, oh, hold on a second, let me get my bearings here. A little bit of presentation mode, just briefly, to show you what we're going to be doing today. So today's workshop, it's funny, I had a couple of different iterations for what it would be called. And really, Perennial blooms, the concept behind blooming, which I'll get into in a moment, is really being your most authentic. So showing and letting yourself be seen in the digital space, through your business, in whatever ways you're putting yourself out there. Really your most authentic self. Jess and I were chatting before folks started getting on. Can you see this presentation here? 1 second here. We were chatting. Full screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're chatting about just different approaches to content and social media and putting yourself out there in the digital space, and how there's so many different ways to go at it. And mine is just one of many approaches. But really the concept of blooming perennially is finding those most authentic parts of yourself and really putting all their due towards them, and really not gravitating off of things, AKA, following trends and hacks and trying to copy others, and kind of show up in ways that are exciting at that moment, but really boiling it down to who you are, what your mission is, what the kind of connections you want to be having with the folks that you're interacting with online or in person, and really letting those be your guiding seeds and your guiding fuel behind what you start to grow as the goal being, the most authentic expression of yourself, and the people that are going to connect to that most fully and most authentically. So I'm excited you're here. This is going to be a space where participation is key. And, that being said, if you need to shut off your video, move around, take a minute in your space, as we're going through a few prompts and spaces for sharing, you do you. That is one of my favorite phrases that Vince often used at the Chamber, kind of, do what you need to do to make it a work helpful and working space for you. So today is also a space where I asked you to keep in mind, we're all coming from different perspectives. So practicing active listening, and not being afraid to ask yourself some tough questions as we move through. I tend to get rather deep with topics of storytelling and talking about yourself. And so, there will be moments where you can dip into some spaces where there might be some emotion or fear coming up. And I welcome you to sit into that and, in whatever way feels best and most comfortable to you. So I encourage you to, we have folks introducing themselves in the chat, which is wonderful. I encourage you to add your name and a little bit about what you do to the chat if you so choose. Other things that would be great to have with you, either a writing space on your computer or a pen and paper, something where you can take some notes. We'll be doing some list making and some writing from some prompts. So be sure to have something that you feel good using there. Okay, and the next hour. So, less than an hour now. Intro by Lou, that's happening now. You are here. I'll continue for just a few minutes before we go into a relationship, what I'm calling a relationship scan. And we'll go into it in a minute a bit deeper, but it's thinking about the relationship that you have with your followers and or people that you interact with online, and or your interaction that you as a business owner or person that uses social media have with the actual app. So we'll be kind of evaluating the relationships there. And then we're going to go into some small circles where you'll be able to talk about what you learned through that prompt and kind of compare notes with the people in your small group. Then we're going to come back into the big circle. We'll talk a bit about storytelling and building some of the elements of your story, hashing some of that out again through a few options of prompts. And then we'll come into a space at the end where folks will have the opportunity to share some of that if they like, in sort of a very kind and open and receptive space where we know that it's not, a final product. And there won't be, space for talk back or feedback or anything like that, but just kind of an open area where folks who feel like they're excited to share something can put that into the space. And we'll close. So really, we have a lot to cover and a lot to dive into and a lot that I'm encouraging you to get into kind of in your own internal space today, and then, come out in these little sharing moments. How does this sound to everyone? I just want to do like a quick scan of how everybody's feeling about the plan. Okay. Cool. All right, so we're going to dive in. So let's go right into, I'm going to just talk for a couple of minutes about myself, and then we're going to go right into our relationship scan. So hi, I'm Lou. Thanks again to Jess and Vince for your wonderful introductions. I am a visual storyteller and consultant. I live in Hadley with my spouse and my 3 dogs who are so lovely tucked away right now, and making the space for me to give this workshop from my home. But just 4 months ago, I started growing my business, Bloom Media, in an effort to really recenter my life around purpose, creativity, and my own healing. For me, blooming means allowing others to see me at my most authentic, unabashed, and full state. I have a big imagination, and I like to encourage my clients to do things differently. I like to learn out loud and bring folks in on my process, and you'll see some of that happening today. You've already have. And I love seeing the light of possibility in other people's eyes. And so today, I'm so glad that you're all here, willing to jump into this work, willing to jump into kind of this self-discovery in a way. And I approach everything from a really kind of holistic viewpoint. So if you see me kind of going in and out of like, are they talking about life or are they talking about business? Like, that's going to happen. And it's because that's how I come at things. It's all part of the same conversation for me. And that's why I think exploring some of the specific boundaries that have been helpful for me to have in place as I do this work, I hope will be helpful for you as well. So I'm going to dive into our relationship scan here. When I see that, Gary, you're having a little bit of trouble. Oh, it looks like you're back on though. So yeah, as you need to.
I'm going to leave my phone on so you'll see me twice.
Sounds good. Okay, so let's keep going in the forward direction. That'll be good. Okay, so I just have to have this little moment. I feel like it's the elephant in the room in conversations like this. Social media is feeling, and raise your hand if you identify with this. It's feeling so tired. It's feeling so forced. It's feeling so inauthentic. It's feeling like a recipe for burnout, everything that everybody says to do. It feels like a lot of work with really mixed results. Any Yeah, nods, hands, cool. So this is kind of where we're at, right? And I think, I started this off by saying there's a lot of different ways to go about approaching the online space, and specifically social media, where you're putting out a lot of free content. I think it boils down to really understanding yourself and understanding your brand and understanding your goals and understanding the uses of social media and the limitations of it, and then adjusting your expectations and relationships to it accordingly. I think like anything, and we'll get right into this with the relationship scan, there's a certain amount of energy that you put into things, and there's a certain amount of reciprocity that we expect from, anything that we put energy toward. And so I just wanted to kind of acknowledge this feeling that I've picked up on through, other folks who are in my industry of, commenting on and keeping up with trends and understanding what's going on with algorithms, that there's a lot of discontent amongst users, especially amongst users who are creatives, because it's really just inherently the need to post things consistently, the need to consistently engage people with new and always more tantalizing imagery. It's just simply not possible to continue going, I think, at this rate. And so we need to kind of adjust how we're coming at it. So we'll go into our first prompt. My invitation to you is to think about the kinds of relationships you want to have with the people that you're serving, whether it's through your business, your organization. Those could be your customers, your clients, your followers, if you're strictly on social media. Or you can consider the relationship you have to the actual social media app. So kind of what we're just thinking about, like, how much energy am I putting towards this, and what am I actually getting out of it? So entering this space, there's a few options. You can do all of them, some of them, one of them, whatever works for you. We'll have about 12 minutes to work through, or about 10 minutes to work through, and then we'll do some sharing. So the first prompt being making a list of words that describe the quality of the relationships you wish to have. Interpret how you will all of these prompts. There's no right or wrong answers. It's simply a generative prompt here. Two, what I was just explaining, a lot of time and energy goes into building these online relationships. What do you wish to receive on the other end? Make a list of what you'd like to gain from what you put into these relationships. And are there areas that feel like they're lacking? Make a list of your boundaries around social media and these connections, meaning, what are you willing and not willing to negotiate on, no matter what the app's algorithms dictate, posting every day on a schedule, or, using all of the different features of the different kind of content, for example, Reels on Instagram. So choose one or a few of these prompts and take the next 10 minutes to journal, write, generate on this topic. Then we'll break into some small groups and do some sharing around this. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them or put them into the chat. I'm going to take a look in there. into about 5 more minutes before we break into some groups. Okay, I think looks like folks are kind of coming to. I'm going to have you stop my share for just a second here and do some breakout rooms. So just go into rooms, introduce yourself, and kind of talk through which of the prompts that you chose and what you kind of discovered through working one of them, and compare notes. And we'll take about 10 minutes, knowing there's a few of you in each group, having a few minutes each. And let me just do this. Any other just bear with me for one moment. Great. Okay, I'm going to open the rooms.
Just to let you know, I might have messed things up by being on twice, but since my
Oh,
putting me out, I need to keep the phone active, but I can't use the video on it easily. I don't have a
it
place to
should
hold it.
invite you.
So you may just want to reassign some.
I think I've,
I'm going back to the group. I just so you have the groups balanced.
okay, yeah, let me move you. Let me move you here. Okay, and then Jen, are you on the call? Hello.
Hello.
How was that?
Good.
It was awesome. I went around and I wanted to just share some of the words that I was hearing, specifically around the kinds of relationships that you're all looking for, and just a lot of, I think, the synchronicities between many of folks showing up today. So, you know, edifying was a word that came up in a few rooms. Reciprocal, kind, trusting, transformative, healing. And that many of you are looking for clarity. And so it seems that I'm interested to hear more about just kind of your conversations. If we could just take a couple of minutes, if there are any kind of big moments or kind of moments of connection in these small groups that you just had. We'll just take a minute or two if anyone wants to share. Please do.
I just wanted to say something that Jen mentioned at the very end, right before we, it's that door handle conversation, but she talked about how it's really good to think around hosting like a third around engagement, a third around awareness, and a third around conversion. And that helps to provide kind of an anchor or something to how you're going to frame things and how you're going to, what your expectations are for your work, which I think is really helpful. I thought that was helpful.
Thanks, Elena. Other observations or spark moments?
There was a lot of nodding in our group when we talked about being authentic, which I think is maybe one of the easiest and most difficult thing to do, especially on social media. But is also, I think, the thing that is the most attractive when you're getting people to be interested in what you have to say. But it's like a tightrope to walk a little bit, even though it's just you.
It's a tightrope, and it's also, I would say, it's a muscle like anything that we need to kind of build up. I'm a singer and a person who uses their body, and in all of these different realms, right? Like the practice and the returning to it becomes that grease that we need to keep the wheel going. And so when it comes to talking about oneself and telling your story, which we're about to go right into, thanks for the perfect segue, Jess. It's all about building the muscle. And I will say, as much as we talk about authenticity and as much as we talk about vulnerability, it's all within that conversation that I hope you just kind of started within yourself or within your groups. Ooh, there's like a spider that's just hello. Going across the screen. That you're really starting to understand where your boundaries lie in that conversation. And so when you are sharing your story, where is it the story that you're sharing, and where do those lines come? And just that tightrope, I think, is where the line comes in. It's like we all get to decide what is the right level of sharing for us. And I think that some of the relationship evaluation and/or energy, conversion scenarios that you need to kind of put out in your mind. It's like, okay, I'm sharing this and putting myself out there. Think about what you're getting back, and then level the two and temper the two, right? And I think one of the things that can be difficult, but also provide a lot of solace to me as a creative person is like, there is no formula. We can say that there are these hacks and kind of ways to go about it. And there are, right? There, you can follow the formulas, but I think when it boils down to it, it's just good storytelling. It's just a real piece of life that you're putting out there to share. And it's the way that you do it, but it's also what you're doing it with. So I'm trying to get to that like boiled down version. And so when I go into this next one, I want you all to imagine just for a moment that social media doesn't exist. And hold on a sec. Can we see that? Breathe it in. The world where, you know, like, and when I say like social media doesn't exist, like there's no like how to, there's no standard, there's no format, there's no app, it's just you, what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it. So with this next prompt, we'll take, I talked too long in there. We'll take a nice chunk of time, about 10 minutes, and just start and ask some of these questions. What if you didn't have any of the like typical words, like play taboo with yourself? How would you describe your business, organization, what you do, without using any of the typical words like marketing or, you know, manager? Like, what other words can you use? Okay, that's one route you can go down. One is, who are you? That could be you, your organization. What values do you bring with you into the spaces? Thinking back to the kinds of relationships that you want to be building. What are the images, colors, places, visuals that are part of your story? What are the elements of the journey that you went on to get to where you are today? You can think about it as a fairy tale. What are the different pieces of your journey, stages, acts? Okay, and this one's like a lot. If you could only communicate one.
We have like an hour to do this, right?
Yeah, right, Gary. So I'm going to send this all out. This is just a start. If you could communicate one message to future generations, what would it be? Okay, that's just like me discussing with you. But really, you know, start to think into one of these questions. Take one of these for the next 8 minutes, 7-8 minutes. Dive in. We'll send these out after and you can continue the soul searching. But we'll start here. Take about 5 more minutes if you want to hop to another prompt to start another one, come back to that one later. This might be a good time to do that. Sorry there, I did not mean to cut that off early, but I would also just really love to leave a few more minutes to hear people's stories if they want to share at all. So, and then I have just a little bit to leave you with. So, all right, let's open it up. And my question to you is, or my invite to you is really to share any piece of anything that you wrote today, whether that be some of the thinking that you were doing around relationship building in the online space, or if you're wanting to dive into really sharing a piece of your story, you are welcome to. If you share, please keep in mind that we want to have a couple, at least a few different voices in the room. So anyone want to step up and share a bit? Knowing there are listening and compassionate ears.
So as an artist, we're required to write artist statements all the time. And the prior discussion about authenticity, among artists, artist statements are notoriously inauthentic. And so I'm like, but the idea of trying to explain things without typical words was really great. So I keep a diary. That's my main word that I use. 40 years of exploring my own responses to my experiences by running ink over paper and trying to make it interesting to at least myself. You get to read over my shoulder sometime, which is the Patreon part of it. So that's what I got.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. It's great. I get an immediate visual. Others want to share?
Mine is, I was really struck by the question, what message would you give to future generations? And it's simple, but I would advise them to embrace change, because that's been part of my journey. That's what had to have happened for me to sit in the seat that I currently occupy, is that folks had to embrace change. And that's what I would leave.
Thank you, Vin.
It stole my question there for a second, because I was going to jump in with the last question as well. And I think going back to social media and things like that, it's interesting, but what I would say to future generations, I think, is not to forget yourself in all this. You know, it's very easy when you spend a lot of time on social media, and especially now, just technically the way it's built to reshare and reuse the same audio and follow trends. It's so easy to lose your own story because you're trying to be a part of someone else's bigger story. And so it's, you know, important to embrace what makes us all different, I think.
So much, Jack. That's like, yes, I feel like that's like so what I'm trying to make more space for, right?
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
It would be great if all the networks that we all use made it a little more rewarding for people to do that, especially younger people. You know, I have 3 kids and they're all too young for social media still, but you can see just, you know, who sees who else on the playground because of the shirt they're wearing. And, you know, it's easy, it's good and bad in that people can kind of find each other that way. But I think it can be tricky when you're trying to keep your own identity in that big space.
Totally. And when it comes to, you know, owning, putting yourself out there in terms of services, it's the name of the game right now is like, how niche can you get to get those people, but to continually balance that and rebalance that with not becoming like a stereotype of ourselves, or, you know, some sort of kind of boiled down nature, but really feeling coming from that really true core, but then letting it bloom in all different kinds of ways. So I know that you are leaving here with more than you probably bargained for in terms of like ideas, unfinished conversations. We're hitting 1 o'clock right now. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you. And thank you for exploring with me. This is a conversation that I'm excited to continue. I'm not going to try to screen share again, so I'm just going to put my email in the chat in case you want to keep the conversation going. So you can reach me. My email is there. My website is there, bloommedia.live. You can find me and we can continue talking. I love to be in this space where we're considering all different kinds of possibilities for how we can show up online and in the world. So thanks for being here. I don't want to keep you longer than the hour that you were promised. So we'll leave it there. But if you want to hang on and ask questions, you're welcome to. I'll hang out for a couple of minutes, but yeah, thank you.
I want to jump in and appreciate the Chamber for hosting and sponsoring this, and you for presenting this really deep looking program. I was expecting like, yeah, I'll do this, do that, you know, and this is really, I think, is much more meaningful and goes deeper into the heart of what we need to know and understand before we do all that, like do this, do that. And I say that having done some other programs about social media marketing. And my request to the Chamber is think about offering a follow-up So like, maybe even for a fee. And what do you, where you take this information and maybe put it out in advance to people that weren't here, for people to examine, and then it's like, so where, what do you do with this? Where do you go with this? How do you make this manifest and achieve what it is you say you want to achieve?
Cool. Well, I'm glad that that's the feeling, Gary. And yeah, I'm really excited to go deep and continue this. I think, you know, I'll definitely continue to talk about a lot of the things that we've started today in all that I bring to my online space, so we can continue to engage there. But thank you. This is really awesome. And yes, thank you again to the Chamber and Vince and Jess and Jack and everybody for making this possible and inviting me. This has been really wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here today. Connect with Lou, and if you have any questions about the Chamber, you can reach out to me or to Vince. And again, thank you to Florence Bank for being our sponsor, making this all possible. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.